"What will you call it, Naps?" Lawrence had asked, through gritted teeth as men crowded around him. He wouldn't have chosen to give Naps the honor of christening a dustbin, let alone an island, but tradition dictated that the first man to set foot on virgin land also got to name it. He could hardly change the tradition now. "Everland," Naps had replied to cheers from the crew. Naps had insisted that he and his 2 men leave once the island was within sight. Maneuvering the Kismet through the potentially reef-laden waters was slow and unnecessary, he'd said, when the dinghy could easily row across. Whilst this was all true, Naps's chief motive for departing was that he needed to get away from the captain before he killed him. Despite days of arguing, both he and Addison had failed to talk Lawrence out of his senseless decision to include dinners in the Everland team, and Naps was about ready to choke the stupid captain to death. Naps had a way of looking directly at Lawrence, but also through him. He retrieved an envelope from his jacket pocket. "Could you put this with the post, sir?" he said, using the condescendingly polite tone which could be relied on to enrage Lawrence. "I forgot to do it myself." "Is it a written apology to me, your captain?" Lawrence asked. "It should be." "It's a letter to my wife." To Lawrence, the relationship between the first mate and the captain had a clear structure. The mate was a commanding presence, yet the captain was indisputably superior. But Naps had a natural authority which Lawrence neither possessed nor could imitate. And to see how the men instinctively deferred to the mate kept Lawrence awake at night, pacing his room with envy-induced heartburn. When he first hired Naps, Lawrence had congratulated himself on being the cleverest man alive. By employing this impressive mate, he, Lawrence, was free to be an adored captain, who never need sully his days with the management of apishly behaved sailors. He'd leave all that unpleasantness to Naps. Except, what he'd actually done was employ someone who was not only exceptional at his own job, but far better at being a captain than the captain. "Shall we clarify a few things?" Lawrence said, snatching the envelope from Naps's hand. "We're here to advance science for the British flag by exploring uncharted territory across the Antarctic continent and claiming new discoveries of interest. So you'll go to this island with the team that I, your captain, have appointed, while we sail around Cape Athena for a last geologizing excursion. It's not some epic quest, Naps. I'll be back to collect you in a couple of weeks." Lawrence's manner had changed as more excitable men packed around them, watching Millet-Bass and then dinners climb down the rope ladder onto the dinghy. "Look, you're sure you don't want the Kismet to take you closer to shore?" "Positive, sir," Naps had replied. And what a mistake that had been. The Joseph Evelyn's journey to Everland was supposed to have taken about 4 hours. But Naps, Millet-Bass, and dinners had now been in the dinghy for 6 hellish days. Naps could hear Millet-Bass slopping around with a bucket behind him trying to bail. The 10-foot dinghy was wallowing so low each swell caused water to gush across the brim. In the semi-lucid trance of the very ill, Naps pulled at the oars and considered that beyond the terror and almost out-of-body levels of exhaustion, his principal torment was actually thirst. "Keep on at it," he croaked to Millet-Bass. The storm had broken with no warning less than an hour after they had boarded the dinghy. Waves rose into unfathomable masses and the sky blackened. For the next 2 days, the men buried themselves among the cargo while the boat fell sidelong into deep trenches and veered, close to rolling. Ropes snapped, and loose supplies volleyed down the length of the boat or disappeared overboard along with their rifle. The mast shattered off and lanced through the heaving incline of a mountainous wave.